Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks. It's good being with you today. I want to welcome you to Vibrant Living, our Vibrant Living platform. I want to welcome you to Cary Cole. She's my other part of my brain. So I'm lateral, she's intuitive. Hello, welcome. Welcome, Cary. I'm glad you're there. You know, I don't know why. I'm going to tell you, I just thought of something I wanted to share with the audience. It just occurred to me. I did a series with Dr. Richard Moss, and the big theme of today's show is going to be being paid for who we are. Being paid for who we are. And so being paid for who we are is one of the most both transformational, brain plasticity. It will shift your whole universe. You know, when Einstein talks about the fundamental question, is the universe a friendly place to be? Once you realize that you could not just be paid for who we are, but really you could connect with people in a way that opens up a door of riches and connection, and in some sense retrain educate your nervous systems to trust in a different way. Because really, when it comes down to it, what makes us aware human beings is the way we breathe, the way we have rhythm. So we hear about all these horrible things on the news. The whole news is constructed about the outer world, reactions, events, circumstance. But we know that on the inner level of health, it occurs in this inner thing. The only thing is we got distracted away from relationships. So being paid for who we are. God, I've had so many situations where it was a relational thing. Someone showed up. They saw it a little differently. I want to welcome with us back again this week and forever, Maureen, Cary. She owns the Natural Awakenings, about 10 years there in Rhode Island, and it's a resource publication. It's national. Yeah, welcome, Maureen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be back.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep going forward.
Good.
Forward. You know, see, part of what happened about being paid for who we are in my life, and I want you guys to think about this, I had a learning style that was very different. So very early on, I could kind of read people's bodies, and I could read them in a way I couldn't explain because I never heard the language of it. And so one time, I was actually running a natural food store, and my natural food store experience was that people came in, and we developed the deepest of relationships. I'll give you an example. There was one guy who would come in. He biked on a three-wheeler because he was in a terrible crash, and he was rehabbing himself. But he would come around, and we'd have conversations. And this fireman would come around, and they would come in, and we would just have these kind of meetings in truth, but living truth. Because what was happening is people would come by the store, but they were kind of questing. Like the guy on the three-wheeler, he was really wondering if he'd ever walk again. And he was curious if to be able to speak again. And I would really enjoy speaking to these people. One of the guys that came in was a guy named Ken. He had a stroke probably when he was like 49. He was very young. But he was rediscovering what health is beyond the stroke, rediscovering questioning about health. And he'd come in to bring his friends, and I would speak to them, and I would listen to what they had to say. At the same time, I was mentoring a guy, a multimillionaire named Cop Kopmeyer. And Cop had written these 400 principles of success. And I called Cop one day, and I said to him, I'm interested in more materials. And I said, what's your secret for today? What's your secret for today? I have your 400 principles. Because he'd retired, I think, when he was 35. And he says, you just lived one of the principles, which is to ask. We must ask and be willing to receive. And to also have environments where we can ask beyond what other people think is appropriate, beyond. We need environments where we could really get a sense of this energy in our body, our sensation, that vital sensation. And relationships are really about that. Their ability to feel safe and connected in this vital sensation. It's a vital sensation. And before it gets covered up with the counterfeit, it's very vibrant and vital and alive. And so those people, I want to say, at the health food store, they educated me on relational coaching. Now, when I was about 13 or 12, I realized that I had this thing. I just couldn't understand why people ever divorced. It didn't make sense to me. I was only 13 or 12. But in retrospect, I knew it was a tip-off that was going to be a mission. There was something there about relationalness that was yet to come. So being paid for who we are, how do we begin that? How do we have that be a part of our lives so that we're flourishing and is showing up our lives in the most grounded way? And first I want to say it's so good, with Kai and Maureen, I really appreciate you guys so much. And because we're going to kind of tip this into how I became a matchmaker. And my vibrant matchmaking came from an experience I had about 7.5 years ago, which I had been a coach already a long time. And I was the kind of coach, let me explain what kind of coaching I did. I was I coached people's state of being. And what that means is I always saw in people that vital sensation or that vitalness. And if I couldn't speak it to them, I would somehow listen to it in a way where it come out. Like our listening in life brings out listening. So when we listen to the listening, and what that means is like we drop below at the level of breath and sensation when we're listening to someone and kind of see what inclination is there. So the first time I got paid for this, I didn't even know what was happening. Someone was paying me, and they kept coming back. And I thought, well, this is fun. He'd always leave under an hour. But he told me he loved the session. He was going to see me next week. So no one ever said to me, Glenn, value trumps time. Value is bigger than time. So I thought, that's interesting. I thought, well, so value, transferring value. And so my first education around being paid for who we are was kind of value, like what value means to someone. Now, the other thing that occurred was that your crisis, the thing that really is challenging you the most, is also another doorway. It's another doorway to this expression of being paid for who we are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank all these people. I want to say all these people came in my life in the most wonderful way, sometimes miraculous ways, and they educated me. One of the people that educated me I want to acknowledge is she was a holistic infectious disease specialist. And what she kept telling me, and she's absolutely brilliant, she said, well, Glenn, she said, if I wasn't an infectious disease specialist, they would definitely lock me away because they get very threatening when I ask questions outside the parameter of what I'm supposed to be doing. So no matter where you're at in life, your nervous system and your beliefs keep you regulated. So vibrant matchmaking. God, do I love vibrant matchmaking. Vibrant matchmaking really occurred when I had what I call a relational tsunami.
sounded like.
No problem. I'm sure that he'll be back soon. But yes, he was talking about relational tsunamis, and Glenn has been through quite a bit. And I'm really proud to say that I've been through quite a bit with Glenn. I'm sure that he'll tell the story of this particular relationship once he returns, and also the premise of being with people who bring out who we are so that we can recognize each other is something that I am absolutely sure that Glenn will touch on as well. So there's a part of us that can see who we are in each other's eyes. And when we do that, we're able to come together and raise each other to another level. We can see each other at our highest good, at our highest healing. And when we do, we make space to hold the other person there with us. And we make space to hold the healing work that needs to be done between the two of us. So Glenn has put together quite a brilliant system. And the system changes with everyone that comes to interact with it. But it's a way that we are able to engage with each other in order to make ourselves, for lack of a better word, just better. Maureen, how have you experienced relationships in your life bringing you to the place in your journey that you are right now? Are there any key relationships that have helped you, bring yourself to this point in your life and your career and your passion?
Most certainly. Absolutely. I've had wonderful experiences and some not so wonderful, and those all sort of, I feel like, shape us. So it's the good and the bad that we can learn from and figure out, well, I don't want this. I want some more of that, and just, sort of kind of fine tune what it is that we're looking for in our relationship.
Absolutely. And what's funny is that a lot of times people are afraid of feedback, but that is the one thing that can absolutely propel us forward. Have you found that as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important to have the good, strong relationships in your life. It does make a huge difference.
Agreed. So I'm sure that we'll touch on this in a bit as well, but letting go of that fear of what can transpire within the relationship, making it open, making it whole as it is, and being able to embrace whatever arises does unlock a certain aspect of what we can become. So when we think about feedback, just like you were saying, asking a person what it is that they do like and what they don't like, well, when we find out what they do, that also allows us to think about what we could do more of. And when we find out what they don't, then we can simply do less. Maureen, I'd love to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Especially since I love the story that you shared last time, your inspired journey to natural awakenings. Just again, on the theme of relationships, what relationships in your life currently provide you with the motivation and inspiration on a daily basis to do what you do?
I would say my husband. He is very, very supportive and just loves the magazine and just loves my involvement with it and the different experiences that it has opened us both up to, for sure. That we have grown along with the magazine over the last 10 years.
Wow. Has it brought you to more places in the world? Has it brought you to more places in your relationship? Do you mind expanding on that just a bit?
Yeah, no, it's brought me to more places physically and emotionally and certainly spiritually. That it's just opened up so many different, I've always been pretty open-minded, just in accepting of the world and different paths that we all have to follow. I just didn't, I was in banking for 20 years, so it was a little bit more of a narrow focus, so that once I got the experience with the magazine to see everything else that was out there and available beyond just that narrow financial world, it was, I just was like a sponge. I've just been soaking in as much as I possibly can. And there's something liberating about not knowing anything. So when I had first started, I didn't know anything about publishing, and there's something very freeing in that, to go from a situation, a career where I did know an awful lot, to being in a place where I had to just ask questions and just learn as much as I could, so that we could keep moving forward. And it's just been a fascinating journey.
I'm sure, it sounds like it. So do you both work on the magazine together?
No. My husband has a full-time corporate job. He works from home also, so we do spend a lot of time together, and he is certainly my IT person, which is, we all need an IT person in our lives, I think. Right. And so he helps out with the website on the technical side, and he does some editing for me. He edits my letter from the publisher every month. And I feel like he channels my voice when he does that a lot of times. And I love it when I hear him on the phone working with his folks, and I hear my voice coming through with his management style. So I feel like I've had an impact there as well.
Excellent. So it's that time. We're going to take a break from our sponsors, and we will be right back in just a moment.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Vibrant Living Network. This is Kai Cole, and also we have on the line Maureen Hart-Cary. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Kai.
I'm on the line too, Kai. I just want to say my technology blew up and I'm safe and sound.
Good. Welcome back, Glenn.
Yeah. Thank you. I was. It's always good leaving and having the people who you love and you could trust your home with. So thank you. So
please feel free to
wow.
continue, Glenn.
I just want to say that. What's that?
Take it away.
I'm going to put Cary. Well, let's talk about vibrant matchmaking. Just because it's probably the most, well, obviously in my universe, it's the most relevant thing I've Our basic premise we started to talk about was being paid for who we are, being paid for who you are. So being paid for is the awareness and the experience that you can be paid and compensated and really live your life at about 80%. So what I've noticed in many years is that when people are at 80%, they function much better. They're more inquisitive. And for couples, it's a beautiful thing because they deepen their relationship. So couples they never break up when they're deepening. They only break up usually when they're overwhelmed. So what I have found in my life now is, and I want to recommend you guys practice this. It's one of the practices I practice. I call it soul seeing, but I ask for guidance and connections. And I started to realize that I wanted to dedicate some of my coaching to couples after having a series of soul seeings, having the series. And at the same time, I was paying attention to things that were profoundly innovative in the world of relationalness and couples. And one of them was this thing called the new attachment theory, which basically means in a nutshell is that you could deepen your love. You don't got to break up. You could deepen your love. And at the time I was having this go on, I was in what I call relationship tsunami. So the first chapter of Divorce the Patterns on Each Other. And this film that I'm working on has a lot to do with a recognition of tsunamis, what I call relational tsunamis, how they disrupt your relationship and how they they screen out what's really relevant. What's relevant is that when you have poison in your relationship, it's really the beginning of something, not the end of something. So the poison in your relationship is the beginning of something. It's not the end of something. So when I work with couples, I was just saying to Maureen and Cary, I recommend couples take emptying walks, because I know their systems are overloaded. And I spoke to one genius one time, she wrote a book called Make Up, Don't Break Up. And she was so eager to talk to me. She spoke to me from her hospital bed. And she said that make sure Glenn knows that there's not a couple that's breaking up that isn't nutritionally depleted and hormonally scrambled. So because of these conversations in my life, and this gets back to being paid for who you are, because I had met someone who was a chronic shopaholic. She put up this very funny blog about it and got paid about almost $1 million for this blog. And I thought to myself, this is really interesting when we share vulnerability. So my vulnerability was that the most significant thing in my life was my relationship with Donna. And here I was in this significant crisis, and I realized that in the individualistic world, the world of coaching, therapy, and many things that focus on empowerment, they don't really hold a relational systems model. So vibrant matchmaking and my relational coaching work is based on the idea that you and your partner live in a relational system, and that when things come up, it's an opportunity for you both to wake up and connect in a different way, and that in the we model, you have a relational brain, you have a relational soul. So I used as an example the emptying walks as the beginning, because I want people to go back. When you first meet someone, you have seeing, that you see them, and then what happens after a while, your seeing leaves, and you start to go into a graven image. So I thought I want to open this as a dialogue, and we got three really smart people here. So the principle for vibrant matchmaking is we go.
What?
Okay. So we were getting into the principles of vibrant matchmaking, which Glenn has shared with me, so it's all good. And as he stated, it's great to turn this into a dialogue. So when we have poison in the relationship, it's great to look at it and to see where it is stemming from. Usually it's stemming from a pattern that we share together, a pattern that we've actually co-created into a story that begins to take over our relationships. So once we see this pattern emerge and it becomes disruptive and we take it into awareness, we can start to dissect it in a manner that will allow us to, as Glenn will like to say, divorce it. We can divorce the pattern without having to get rid of each other. So once that pattern and that story emerges, we say, how does that story make us feel? How does that story affect my being? Once we uncover that root emotion, that root cause for that particular feeling, we are able to get rid of the pattern by replacing that feeling with a new one that we'd love to embrace, the one that we actually want. So for instance, if I was in a relationship with someone and there were things that came up that made me feel like, for instance, I was a failure, that is an experience due unto myself that I have actually created. Now, the fact that it comes up in the relationship with my partner is through the co-creation of it. So that means there's a part that we are both playing in that feeling or that experience of failure. So if I go into it and I say, well, Kai, how does being a failure make me feel? I would say, well, it makes me feel fear. I've been afraid of being a failure, and it's coming up now, so this is giving me a chance to address that fear. Well, then I can say, Kai, what feeling do you want to feel while you're in the relationship? And of course, I would say something to the effect of, I want to feel loved. I want to feel loved in my relationship. So we take this principle of feeling fear of failure, and then we transmute it into saying, Kai, I now feel love instead of fear. So I choose to love the part of Kai that is a failure. And then we get to move on into a new paradigm that shows up out of this wonderful experience. Maureen, how are you feeling?
Yes. Yeah,
You're here, yes.
Yes, yeah, that, mm-hmm. Yes, I haven't gotten lost. There's a few things that had struck me when you were speaking. I love the word choose, that we can, the concept that we choose to redirect our thoughts. We can choose to, like we were talking earlier about our health, we can choose to focus on the diagnosis, or we can choose to look at the positive side. We can choose to look at all of the things about our mate that are not exactly maybe as how we would ideally want them to be, or we can choose to work on that and reframe it and approach it from a different place.
Absolutely.
I like that.
I love how you're, Glenn, welcome back.
Yeah, no, I'm on some level, I'm very much been in the conversation independent of technology meltdowns and of all this other, in some ways that's what our relationship is. There's going to be moments of disconnection, and it's a question of like the safety. And I give you a simple thing. It's very simple. If you're with someone, touch toes. In other words, if you touch a part of them, touch toes, and what you'll notice is a little bit of shifting as you do this in your nervous systems. Because all this is what's happening in a lot of our relationships. We're calibrating, we're kind of tuning in again. I love this idea you mentioned. I wrote something on jealousy recently, and I thought I would share this with you guys because I had this woman call me up about the jealousy piece, and I forgot that I even actually had wrote this. I just someone asked me if I thought jealousy was healthy. And I said yes. I didn't think about it much at the time. And this woman had called to say to me that how jealousy was healthy for her, or why she gave up jealousy in her relationship is that she wouldn't be hurt if she left a relationship that she didn't have jealousy in. So she kind of felt if she didn't feel jealousy, she would be safe. And other spiritual people would say, well, you're not supposed to feel jealousy. So we had a conversation about authentically noticing the expression and health of it in the sense that it points to awareness. So we're kind of working on the model exploring the model of is that what we're aware of. Once we're aware of it, it's different that we're not aware of it. We're pushing it down. Or as my colleague Layla Martin said, she said, well, the downside of a lot of things that happens is in the media is people become more suppressed. So awareness is the cure and is the awakening in relationship. So to have a relational awakening, which I encourage of you, is you become aware kind of these things that you're pushing away, and you make contact. That's where the emptying walks come in, and you touch fingers. Even in my groups where I introduce couples, which I love doing, I love having people have a pathway in together. And usually it's through visualization. But yeah, choosing is an interesting deal. I mean, choosing is something that, like as an example, I have this part of, we talk about the myth of the made-up mind. There's no such thing as a made-up mind. Because usually when people say they made up their mind, they're usually frozen. So very rare in relationships do people, usually when they're frozen, they're scared and they're frozen. So the idea is as a system, you learn how to be in that system in a way that really is about be loving the system and not be stranging the system.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Oh, no. I'm never going to hear about a tsunami, am I?
Oh, man, you have to. It's a really, really good story. And from where Glenn left off, again, he left off with a perfect segue about, realizing that it's actually the pattern, or the system itself that, I know he doesn't like to use this word, but I'm going to use it, that can be broken. And I don't like to use the word broken because that implies that it can be fixed. And there is nothing to do, with ourselves or with, a co-creation to fix it. We can simply recreate it. We can regenerate it by regenerating ourselves the way that we really wish to be in the world. So moving forward from there, there are a lot of different protocols, like Len is saying, that we can use to calibrate with each other. I had this amazing experience where I went to what they called a puja. And a puja was a place where people gather together with their mates. And we literally sat there and we recalibrated our system. We allowed our values to fall to the side so that we could just be in a space and see and recognize each other. So we went through several rituals, which were so endearing and so cute, like feeding one another a grape, like lighting a candle in honor of the flame that exists between you two. And this whole thing was done in silence. And it took place for about like an hour and a half with guidance. And we went inside and we really excavated how we felt, and we just allowed it to be without feeling that we had to fix or address it. So it was a very special experience. But Glenn, you must share your tsunami with Maureen. She's so curious.
I'm honored by your curiosity. Well, wow. In some ways, it's so beyond my. It's almost beyond my mind to experience. My tsunami was that I was feeling I was feeling and noticing that the world of my relationship was falling away. So the closeness and the deep love I felt for Don, I was noticing there was a big change in it. And it felt like Humpty Dumpty was falling down. It was a very certain feeling. Now, in my life, there's so many people I admire. And at this time, Maureen and Cary, I had taken my wife, I don't know, probably several months. I took her barefoot hiking over at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. And a few months later, she got ill in a way I never saw her get ill. And she got ill to the point where she really couldn't. She could move, but it was very hard. Her face became frozen, and I kind of felt this was the beginning of something in our relationship that was going to open up another whole passageway. And at the same time, I hadn't seen her that ill before. I want to make sure you guys hear my voice, okay?
Yes.
You guys there?
Yes, we hear you.
Wow. Are you guys there?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you, Glenn.
What's that? Okay,
We hear you.
I'm going through loneliness. I tell this. Okay, good. Okay, great. I've had a total technology melted around me. So what happened was, basically, there was a time when Donna couldn't really speak. There was a time when we couldn't really speak because she couldn't close her eyes at night. And I felt there was an opening that was very powerful. I built a team from around the country. No one could really say what was wrong with her, what was happening, why was this happening to her. And funny enough, I passed a book. You know those books that say, look at this symptom, look at that symptom, check this symptom? And I kind of had this feeling that maybe she had Lyme disease. But I talked to a guy, and this is getting back to the being paid for who we are. I talked to Stephen Bach. He treated thousands of people with Lyme disease, and he told me immediately some things to do, and he gave me his cell phone number and his home number. Well, the tsunami was the upside of a tsunami. The upside of having your heart deeply broken is you can receive deeper heart contact. There is a way to use a tsunami to deepen your heart connection, to deepen things. And at the time, I was clueless. I asked people who I respected. I knew some pretty profound relationships. But this evolved. Donna's face wasn't supposed to unfreeze for a year. Her face was frozen. And through a series of different people, a neurologist and a very soulful neurologist and some different doctors who'd worked with Lyme, her face unfroze within 6 weeks. But I knew on some level that I was losing her. And what I want to say about losing someone is that a lot of times you lose someone because of what I would call thought viruses and graven images. And so what I mean by that is that they look at you in a way that triggers all their pain, and they're very triggered around you. It's almost like they're allergic to you. And so this phase, I pretty much called people who I knew and trusted from around the world. And the phase of the tsunami is when you feel like you've lost someone, they're on another planet, and you feel like you're going to die. Because usually when you're in a tsunami, you feel pretty bad about it. So, of course, the process of this was I started to meet other people, and people started to meet me during this and ask me about relationship and relationship energy, what I might call love medicine. And it was opening my world in a different way, and at the same time, I was losing Donna, and I had some of the most just beautiful people say to me they'd work with us, and it was almost like at the time Donna wouldn't respond. So a tsunami is when it's like a tsunami. Your worlds collide.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
So Glenn was just informing us about his relational tsunami. And actually, he did a wonderful video with a colleague, Michael Russ, about, would you like to continue?
You guys are great. I just want to apologize. I'm having the most bizarre technology challenges I think I've ever had. So it's like technology intervention. So,
too much
relational
energy
tsunamis.
on the line.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. Well, let me exhale. I want to kind of catch. Maureen, why don't you? What's impacting you? What's touching you?
I certainly have had that type of situations in my life and different relationships in the past. I think that it's really fascinating to hear other people's stories and how it is that they, I don't know what the right word is here, not just survived, but thrived from it, the learnings from what we take from our experiences. And I'm really interested in hearing more about the vibrant matchmaking. I think that it's such a need for it, for people to connect on deeper levels.
So as things evolved, well, first of all, I had a sense from my life that people love this vibrant matchmaking, because if I was talking to Braggs and Minos in California, or if I was talking to, and really it seemed like I was selling my car, people calling me for relationship feedback. So I noticed that the universe around me seemed to love this idea. And I thought speaking to people about their relationships seemed to be the most magical, wondrous thing I could be. It's just and what I noticed happen, I know I didn't tell you guys this. I had a series of these soul seeings. And one of them, when I got up in the morning, I could see I was breathing more deep in my body, and I noticed I was profoundly aware of people's relationships in a very deep way. I could feel them as a couple, and so I knew that another whole dimension of coaching would be what I call vibrant matchmaking. So it wasn't just matching them; it was actually deepening this vibrancy, so it becomes a way of life, and they're aware of it being a system. And then I realized that a lot of the things out there, Maureen, Kai, just was fairly ignorant in terms of it ignored the system and just focused on the individual. So I thought, I want to work with couples so when people would come to me just about themselves, like I had a call on Sunday night. He's a pretty young guy, and he's doing some meditation and he became aware of some transformational work. And the first thing I said to him, his name was Ralph. I said to Ralph, let's get your partner on the phone, because I want her to feel, I want her to be in on this. So vibrant matchmaking is the awareness that your match, on Dharma matchmaking, it says that Dharma match, the purpose of Dharma match, it's a site for Buddhist people to meet each other. The purpose of Dharma match is so that you could live your Dharma and meet someone, but it's your Dharma. And I say that your vibrant match is your Dharma, that when you come into a relationship, it's the most profound, amplified awakening, and it opens you up in a different way. And that out of all the things we do, for the most part, relationalness is deficient. Like if you ask people if they can meditate, they can meditate. Could they change their diet? The thing that in what I've discovered is that when you really are able to open and regulate your heart with someone, it changes your nervous system. And to me, it's the most profound thing you could do. So obviously, I love it. And so when so vibrant matchmaking to me, I want to introduce people to these relational principles and a system to have this deep, profound match. And I want to also change, if you will, change the game, because I think the things we're bringing get in the way. We kind of relate to each other like aliens, where there's red flags and there's this and there's that. I don't think the divine can make it through the outside game of dating. It's very it's the opposite of being able to deepen your system. So vibrant matchmaking, which I'm so inspired to bring it to Rhode Island, by the way, and to work with people in your area. Well, it's just this idea that, as an example,
to have happened again.
It's okay.
3 for 3.
Right, exactly. But there is so much to cover on this particular topic that, we could talk for days, about this, about the different ways that we can enter into relationships and really discover the images that we create about each other.
Yeah,
about
I have
the
no idea my
relationship as a
technology is
whole.
breaking down on me. I'm actually on a new phone.
Great.
He's back.
So I just want to acknowledge that I think Maureen maybe hit on the nutshell. Maybe there's so much energy on this call that it's overtaking the technology. What could I say? I would ask, here's the thing I ask people to play with. Just play with the beliefs and the thought ideas. Like, if your heart wasn't guarded and you really could unguard your heart and really take someone at the deepest levels, and it was going to amplify you, you'd feel safer, and you could have a level of vibrancy you couldn't have on your own. That's really what vibrant matchmaking is about. And it's only the beginning, because you could keep deepening the match and dropping the counterfeit forever. And that's what I call the ecstasy bond. But what I play with people, and this is an exercise you guys could do, and I want to give another couple's exercise. I want to leave you guys with the emptying walk, and then this holding each other's heart, which is profound. All right, so when you read anything over the next month, I want you to read it, especially transformational stuff, and I want you to see how often they use the word me. And I want you to pay attention how rarely they talk about we. So it's all about me. And in the animal world, as an example, it's a beautiful thing that you, what do they warn you about? I'm trying to think. They have all these warnings in the relational world, or the fake relational world, which is, recovery. Or, it's so funny. There's a whole warning language you guys know about. Like, for instance, your partner can't complete you. Well, really, actually, in some sense, they can. Because what they could do is amplify the system. It's like, why did all this cautionary language get in there? And why is it, and by the way, what are we empowering ourselves against? So I would tend to think that relational power is something you share that's amplified. So I ask you to inquire about the language. I ask you to exhale with your partner this week, if you're with someone already. Just take these emptying walks where you just hold each other's hand. I don't even want you to talk. And I just want you to have these walks to be a point of emptying, so you could catch a new breath together. So that's emptying walks. And for those guys you want to connect a little more intimately, I want you to hold each other's hearts. I want you to hold the front. And by the way, I teach a course on breathing, gazing, and the heart. Touching, breathing, gazing, and the heart. And so I teach you to make this nonverbal hookup. It's very powerful. By the way, you guys still hearing me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I still coming through?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
yeah,
great.
good.
Thank you. I apologize about today's craziness. Well, the saneness is there too, obviously, the paradox. So touching, breathing in the heart. So no matter how busy your day is or what's been happening in your day, and I recommend you start doing this 2 times a week. I want you to hold the back of your partner's heart, and I want you to become really aware of your hands, all right? So I want you to start to become aware of the subtleness of your partner before you even physically touch them. I want you to get in touch with the subtlety of them, the wonder of them, the energy around them, so that you could feel them when they walk in a room. When someone walks by me now, I could pretty much, and it's not from my ego, I could pretty much read almost everything that's occurred that's impacted them very quickly. It's almost like I could just see it. And you want to feel that with your partner. You want to feel that, and you want to hold their heart. We need a lot of heart holding. And so the heart holding exercise, it teaches you heart regulation together. So ask me a question or give me a comment, because I don't want to go. I'm going through this. I usually go over this exercise over a few hours, but it's so beautiful to make this contact point. And I'm going to give this course in May, which is on the healing power of your partner, of touch, gazing, and the heart. Those 3 things. I have a curiosity or a question or a comment or a humorous comment.
It sounds like a wonderful practice. Absolutely. I'm curious, what does it bring up? What are things that we can look forward to in the experience?
It's a beautiful question. I'm so glad you asked that. Yeah, there's the release phenomena. So the release phenomena is when you develop a deepening in the system. Sometimes, like, other things come up, like maybe the times you weren't held, or maybe the times you missed connection. And so you'll go through little periods where you
Well, we were looking forward to understanding what would transpire from actually participating in this exercise. I can let you know something that I'm looking forward to experiencing, and I wonder if it's a part, of the design of it, is, the connection, being able to feel a different dimension of what's going on in the relationship, because as I understand it, the relationship itself is a being. It is a being that we are creating together. So how on other dimensions can we access this and feed it and be able to understand how to nourish it, along with what it needs? So these were the questions that I was hoping to ask. Maureen, is there anything that you are looking to understand about these principles and practices that Glenn is going to share with with this workshop upcoming?
What I was feeling was that it would be almost as if you were coming out of your own heart and joining with your partners, so that you weren't just two separate silos. It was sort of more of a merging. And a coming together, and just an awareness, and just a much deeper connection.
I hear you. Yeah. Have you experienced this merging in the past?
I don't, not consciously, not like I'm going to do now that I'm aware that of the practice. So absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to having the experience and seeing what comes up.
Yeah, I agree with you. That sounds really, really amazing and intriguing.
It does.
And it's wonderful how these things come up. And the relationship actually teaches us how to be in this experience on its own oftentimes. So it looks like Glenn is going to give us the conscious key to be able to unlock this type of beingness with our partners.
Right, and almost get out of our own way with it.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. How many times do we get in our own way? I had an experience where I was sitting with a group of people, and we were talking about, the concept of everybody being one and all of us being a part of one being, and that separateness is an illusion. And, I entered the conversation openly saying, okay, I've heard this before and I've talked about it before. But once we started to really engage with each other and speak more on the subject, I literally looked over to the person next to me, and I looked in her eyes, and I saw myself in there. And not only did I see it, I felt myself in there. So it was beyond just talking about being one. It was the experience of it. And just like a key had been given to me at that moment, that I had been willing to access that part of ourselves that were also each other in that point in time. And it opened up a whole new world. It opened up a whole new world just from conversation.
Sounds really profound.
Absolutely. Glenn, are you there? Would you like to close us out?
I'm here. I'm listening. I'm listening. I was just telling. I'm listening. It's such a privilege. These kind of things get me up. They could get me up day or night. My whole energy changed. So when I had my relational tsunami, on the other end of it, I doubled my energy. I was able to tune it, be more conscious of more people. I was able to see couples almost immediately and have a sense of the velocity of the couple. I just appreciated the relational implications. I guess you could say I healed from heartbreak, which was pretty powerful. I never thought I would heal from heartbreak, because heartbreak, once it overtakes you, it's really hard to kind of get beyond it. So, and then I drew more people, wonderful people in my life, like Kai and you, Maureen. So that's a blessing in itself. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, being paid for who you are allows you to have more energy, more resource, and you're not always scared that you're gonna run out, because you realize you could let the system, the people around you, be in there with you, and then you could have intelligent or conscious riches together, which puts you into what I call the creative plane, or the certain way. And yeah, I think that's the whole thing in life, is to be able to have more energy, more shared energy, so you could have this bigger life. And that's what vibrant matchmaking is about. And that's what vibrant living is about. And Maureen, we're going to shoot part of our film in Providence, and you're such a significant part of our team. Thank you for your listening and your participation. And Kai, I deeply appreciate you, and I appreciate the audience. And thanks, Chris, for hanging in there today with me through our technology challenges. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. I'm Glenn Brooks. Thank you.